Kathy Chenna here with Tri-Cities Community TV in Port Coquitlam at Lee Square. We're going to be talking to Robbin Whachell next, and Robbin is a woman of many talents. She is here from the Bahamas, lived in the Bahamas for many, many years. She does a lot of things in the community, and one of the things I want to get to is something called Parenting Our Parents. Robbin, thank you so much for being here today. Tell us about your journey and how you ended up in Coquitlam.
Well, born and raised in Manitoba, then moved to the prairies. From the prairies, in my 20s, I decided to move out here, follow one of my brothers, come from a big family. Met my husband here. We quickly had 4 children, and we went to visit a friend in the Bahamas and fell in love with it. My husband, who's now my ex, was actually a chiropractor, and I thought, there's no chiropractors there. Let's move to the Bahamas. And it took 2 years. We ended up in the Bahamas, in Grand Bahama Island, raised the children there. I lived there for 15 years. While I was there, just out of wanting to give back to my community, I started this little email newsletter, which today grew into one of the leading news sites in the country called the Bahamas Weekly. And we're celebrating our 10th year. And with social media, I've been able to, I was always saying, okay, the kids want to come home. They grew up there, but come back for school. Could I do my career over in Canada with my head over in the Bahamas, but my body here? And with social media, I've made that happen. And so we're very proud to be celebrating our 10th year, and I'm able to do it right here from Coquitlam.
Yeah, I don't know about the body being here and the head being there. I kind of like it the other way around, you know. Bahamas weather, you can't really complain about that, right?
Yeah.
Some of the things that I know about you is you're very passionate about our salmon, and I want to know what role you take at Hoy Creek, and how it's something that you do every day almost, and you go in and take care of those fish and see how they're doing. So what is that speared from? Is it something to do with the environment? Are you an environmentalist, would you say, or you just like fish?
Well, living in the Bahamas for 15 years, coming back to Canada, I fell in love with my country again. My kids said, you know, Mom, the best thing you did was take us to the Bahamas so we could really see the contrast, and they're so appreciative to be back in their country. Canada is spectacularly beautiful, pristine. People come to the Bahamas and say that about the beaches there, though. But here, it's everywhere. And what happened was I moved from a high-rise down to the city streets, into a bedroom community, so to speak. And there was this forest. I had no idea, went walking through there one day, saw the creek. A very wet, rainy day. Through social media, I heard that they were releasing salmon. I went down. This was 2 years ago. And they said, we're looking for volunteers. And I thought, well, I live right here. This is perfect. I work on the computer. I can get into into nature in 2 seconds and help give back to the community. And so today, 2 years later, I've just been elected the president of the Hoy Scott Watershed Society. I always tell people it's not a big difference because I was so passionate about it from the beginning. I started their Facebook page, rebuilt a website for them, and trying to do as much PR to make the community aware of the jewel that's right here in Coquitlam.
Exactly, it is definitely a jewel. Something, as you were speaking, I was talking this week, I was at a networking event for women, and I was talking about you, and someone said, I really love her, let's call it your blog, okay, Robbin's Nest. How did you come up with Robbin's Nest, and how appropriate is that with your name? I love it.
Well, again, it's appropriate with my first name, but I have 4 children, so I just imagine 4 little blue eggs, and they are my life. And my nest is in a tree that overlooks the world, and it's got branches that reach out and try and give back, and roots that are centered and grounded. And my children can fly away, but they can always come back to the nest, and same with friends. And it's so through that, I started blogging under the hashtag Parenting My Parents, which has now encompassed my mother living with me, and she's been with me a year now, and she's 82.
So we come to where you are now in your present sort of life. We know that you're running a business, you're raising your children. Some live at home, some don't, some you've married off, and your mother's come back to live with you, and you're caring for her, and you've done your Canadian trips, and now Bahamas and the weekly, and there's just so much. I know that exercise is really important to you and your health, and you're so balanced that way. Sometimes I don't know how it all gets done, but it does, you manage. But I want to talk about your mom and that hashtag, parenting our parents. What's that been like, having your mom move back in and taking care of her? I've read some of your pieces, you know, that some days she doesn't remember certain things and other days she does, and she's perfectly fine, and you have to remind her of a number of things, and you hope she knows the way back home sometimes, right? That could be quite a challenge, and how do you get through that?
For me, you know, my mom was living in Alberta in a seniors facility, a home, an apartment. It was beautiful. She loved, she liked it, but I know she missed us, and it was a province away. So we moved her to Abbotsford because she cannot stand the rain out here, and that was her mantra. Well, things have flipped lately. So got her out here to Abbotsford, and I could tell it wasn't as active as it should be for her age and where I knew she was at. There was also a piece of me that said, you know what, you got an extra bedroom, your mom should be with you. Right. It's payback time. And I really think today, as a society, we think the government is the responsibility of our parents, that you know, once they get to a certain age, well, there's these, you know, I think we all just think that that's what you're supposed to do. You put them in a senior's home and they'll be taken care of. The best place for our parents is with us. It is, and then what I've learned through that is, and even though she's got dementia coming on, she repeats stories. You can't tell her that you've heard it already because that doesn't compute. Right. So you listen to it, and I really think it's a part of passing on our stories to our children. That, you know, if you don't remember that story that Grandma told you, well, when you live with her, you will remember it daily, because you will hear it over and over and over. Exactly. And it's a very important time for them to feel loved and appreciated, because I think a lot of parents don't feel that way when they get to a certain age, because we all just get busy. One of the main things a lot of senior parents say is, oh, I don't want to bother my kids. They're also busy in their own life. I'm working on an article right now just called How to Call Your Parents, because it sounds really basic, or it could be, you know, calling your parents for dummies, because a lot of people are afraid to call their parents, especially if there's been some distance and they haven't talked to them in a few months. Well, I don't know what to tell them. I don't know what to say. Just say three things you did today. What happened last week? You know, where do you hurt? Say something, or anything. Hello. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be long. Hi, I just want you to know I love you. I'm really busy, but I just wanted to tell you that I love you. Exactly. My mother lives overseas, and she's joining us in September, and she's going to be living with my son actually for an indefinite period of time. And there's a lot of patience that you have to have when you bring your parents into your home, and the challenges again. So when she wants to go out on her own, or she wants to go to the bank, and she feels these other things are happening, like how do you deal with that, Robbin? It's very scary, actually. You want them to. You want to give them their grace. You want them to feel empowered. You don't want to take that away from them. At the same time, and my mother we used to call her the gypsy. She'd get in her station wagon and she'd be gone. She'd leave for weeks at a time. She was always very independent. And now she thinks she can just walk out the door. And so now her grandchildren are saying, you know, Grandma, you need to tell us where you're going. We even tell Mom, hey Mom, I'm stepping out. I'll be back where I'm going. So at first that really kind of pissed her off. She thought, I don't have to tell anybody what I'm doing. So now we've gotten her into that group. I'm still a little leery about letting her out. She's learned how to walk from our place to Coquitlam Center and back. That's good. She went out last night, bought about $60 worth of health vitamins, went to have a bite to eat, came home, oh, I don't have the bag. Oh. You know, it could have been worse. It could have been her purse. Yes. So it's just, it's baby steps. It's just going with her a lot of the times and holding her hand. That's one thing I'm really enjoying, is holding my mother's hand. Oh, that sounds amazing. Just taking her for a walk and holding her hand. And every day's different, because we don't know how progressive the dementia can get on a day-to-day basis. And now you have your kids helping you as well. How many children are living at home now? Got 2 at home and 2 that are on their own. And the ones at home, you know, at first it was like, we're going to move Grandma in, and I expected some backlash, but they embraced the idea wholeheartedly, and I knew that I was doing the right thing, and they have been so supportive. And what you said earlier about loving our parents and not sort of pushing them off to seniors' homes and for the government to take care of them. So if you have to give advice to people that are in sort of a crossroads between what they want to do with their elderly parents, what is that advice that comes from you, Robbin? What helped us is we sat down with the local health authorities, so we sat down with Fraser Health, and I said, you know, maybe this is too soon. They said, no, you're doing the right thing. Find out what the parameters are, find out what the services are in your community. That's what's great about the Tri-Cities. There's so many services. And you know, at first, there's like these adult daycare programs, and I took my mom to that to check it out, and she came home, and 2 hours later she says, there's no way I'm going there. And I felt it too. I knew she wasn't there yet, that she needed something a little more active to become a member at Dogwood Pavilion or the Glen Pine Pavilion. Right. And that's the next step, is to get her engaged into some social activity that way.
Yes, that's a great idea. And if people want to find out more about either your Bahamas Weekly or Robbin's Nest, where can they find out more about you?
All right, well, thebahamasweekly.com. It's easy to find. And if you're interested in my little stories about my mother, it's under the hashtag Parenting Our Parents on Facebook, and Robbin's Nest on Facebook.
Great. And just really quick, I know that were you just in the dragon boat race? Was it a race? And how did your team do?
Our team, well, I'm with the Nothing Dragon Masters out of Coquitlam, and we're a 50-plus team.
Yes.
And it's quite exciting for me because some of the people that are on my team are the same age as my mother. And so it's been amazing to see these people that are so active. And that's my next mission for myself. My personal goal is I'm in my early 50s. I've got 30 years of sports activity and personal fitness for myself to go through. So I love it. We were at the Vancouver International Dragon Boat Festival, which is the second largest in the world. Yes. And our team, we race against younger teams. So in one of the prelims, one of our teams came first. We have about 5 teams that we entered. But in most of the races, we were about in the middle. But for us to improve our timing every year and to beat younger teams is pretty exciting.
That's fantastic. Well, we do appreciate your time, and thank you again for being here with us today. And we are talking about parenting our parents, keeping a healthy lifestyle and balance. Love your mom and dad. You don't know when they'll be here last. Hold their hands and pick up the phone and call them and just say hello or how are you doing. Thank you so very much.